I used to mow the grounds and take care of the garden of a Carmelite convent. Since my room was closest to the gate, I could see the entire abbey from my windows. The landscape has a plant combinations that blanketed space in lush greens and rich maroons, as well as gorgeous blossoms and eye-catching greenery. It was a lovely view during the day, but at night it had an eerie vibe, especially since it was situated beside an old church. Catholic churches have a creepy reputation since they are frequently found next to cemeteries. But there was no cemetery next to that old church. It was unsettling because of its gothic design. One afternoon, while I was mowing the lawn in the wooded area on the far side of the church, my cat suddenly dashed in front of me. Now, I have to explain that this is the first time that my cat came near the church grounds. She usually just stays on our side of the road and never goes near the part of the church. But this time, she ran straight towards the wooded area and hissed with her back hair raised. She was standing in front of me, as if she was protecting me from whatever it was in that area that I could not see. I backed away for a moment and scanned the area for snakes. It's possible that my cat saw a snake in the grass and was protecting me from it. After a few seconds, she suddenly moved back but was still facing that area. I immediately started walking in her direction to keep her safe. If it's a snake, that would be dangerous for her as well. I was about to pick her up when I almost jumped when she ducked and started spitting. Her claws were out and she was very agitated. I called her name and she ran toward me. I picked her up, but whenever I approached that area, she hissed and scratched me. Something in there is bothering my cat. I decided to take her inside my house and investigate the area. I started carefully pulling the tall grass in the area where my cat was hissing. I'm a gardener, and dealing with snakes is a normal part of my job. I've been doing this for a few minutes when I almost fainted. There was a finger sticking out of the soil where I had just pulled out the fresh grass. The locals, along with the priests and nuns, carefully excavated the body. Everyone grasped when we saw the body was that of a young woman. She is a nun, although her uniform is very old and outdated. The head nun of the church, whom everyone called Mother Superior, mentioned that her uniform was from the 17th century. Everyone was amazed at how well preserved the body of the nun was. Aside from her tattered veil, mantle, and tunic, everything else is pristine, especially her body. Some locals even demanded that she be brought to the hospital because she's still alive. To appease the concerns, the priests ordered the body to be taken inside a church while waiting for an ambulance. Some of the locals took the pictures of the body, while some took videos of the entire incident. When the paramedics arrived, everyone was shocked when they found out that the body was gone. Muddy footsteps were leading to the back door from the body. It looks like the body just got up and walked away. Everyone was confused but ended up concluding that it was a very clever and elaborate prank. That's the end of that, I said to myself. The very next day, I was moving the lawn on the parsonage side of the church. During my break, as I was eating my sandwich, I heard two nuns talking. One of the nuns whispered,
I heard stories about a 17th century nun that was tortured and buried on the church premises.
I've heard about this story before. Are you suspecting that the girl that we found yesterday is the same person?
I hope not. Besides, there were no marks on her body. The poor girl.
She shook her head and continued.
I heard the nun was suspected to be a witch because bad luck always happens whenever she's around.
The church and the locals have a lot to repent about if the story were true.
she said, as she performed the sign of the cross once more. Both nuns were startled when they realized that I was in the vicinity eating my sandwich. They both looked at me and quickly left. I went to bed early that night. The sound of someone knocking on my window in the middle of the night woke me up. My cat was in my room, and she suddenly raced toward the window and stopped at the foot of my bed. She ignored me and hissed even when I called her. That's when I heard footsteps walking away from my house. I stood up and picked up my cat to calm her down. I turned on the light outside facing the old church. I noticed someone walking past the main door of the Asian church. The sight of what looked to be a solitary nun from my window caught my attention. I could look straight down to the door of the Asian church over the monastery fence. I could not believe my eyes that a nun was walking at that time in front of the closed church. She had black eyes, a chalky white complexion, and below her habit, her eyes were blazing yellow. She was walking towards the alley chanting a song with a dark tone and unsettling voice. I dashed to lock my room. At first, I thought that I was hallucinating and had just seen one of the nuns who rose early in the morning, since the nuns spent most of their lives in prayer. I was anxious when I realized that the church was closed at that time, and I was further alarmed when I remembered that they were forbidden to leave their rooms after 10 p.m. till their wake-up time of 4 a.m. Moreover, the terrifying chanting was also not a Christian hymn, since it was so different from the ones that the sisters were singing during their communal prayers. If I'm asked to describe it, I'll say it's nothing less than demonic. The chanting stopped almost as fast as it started. In the blink of an eye, the nun was gone. That morning, our neighborhood was awoken by the sound of a lot of police cars converging all over our sleepy neighborhood. I overheard some of the neighbors saying that one of the neighbors was missing. I remember him as the guy who took the video of the buried nun. I hesitated to tell the police what I saw because, to be frank, no one in their right mind would believe me. I decided to tell one of the nuns instead, but she only smiled mockingly and disregarded it as a practical joke. In my mind, I was thinking that she was thinking that I was part of this elaborate joke happening in our community. Although, after our conversation, I saw her talking to Mother Superior later, and they were both staring at me while talking. The same thing happened at 3 a.m. the next day. I was suddenly awoken to the feeling of being watched from my window. I don't understand the feeling because I was shaking in fear when I woke up. I was petrified and couldn't move. I could hear footsteps, but I couldn't see anyone. I was panicking because it came to the point that I couldn't breathe anymore. That's when I heard my cat charging inside my room. Luckily, I did not lock my door because I let my come and go during the night. I immediately felt safe and secure once my cat entered and hissed at the window. I turned on the light and picked up my cat. I did not sleep again after that. The next day, another one of our neighbors was missing as well. Surprisingly, I saw him as well, taking a picture of the nun during the excavation. The police expected that there was foul play happening in our area, so we were advised to stay indoors. Police patrols have also become more frequent. I was summoned to the Mother Superior's office. I knew that I would be reprimanded because they probably think I'm involved in whatever is happening around us. After all, I'm the one who found the body. The old nun stood up and approached me. She then took something from her pocket. It was a brown scapular that she told me to keep. She told me that would be my protection from evil spirits. She explained that because I'm the one who found the body of the witch. I will be your primary target." I gasped at what I was hearing. She continued by telling the tale of the nun. She was executed in the 1700s after being tortured. People say that the nun is a witch who curses anybody who's around her. Her body was interred, but it was found 300 years later, unfortunately, by me. This is exactly what I heard from the two nuns. The only difference is they are gossiping while the Mother Superior is telling it as a fact. The evil nun has returned, according to the abbess of the monastery. She was worried as she had heard that someone had taken a video and pictures of the nun and had warned that person was damned. I then confirmed that the rumors about the missing people were true. My heart pounded repeatedly and my head ached. The revelation was too much for me, but I thanked the nun for telling me the story so I could be aware. I had trouble falling asleep the next night. Around 3 in the morning, I overheard my cat hissing again outside. Then it was followed by the nun's ominous voice, and it seemed like she was chanting a ritual of the devil. When I put on the scapular, the voice ceased to speak. I thought it was over, but my cat slammed into the glass window, causing it to crack. My cat stood up and ran away, disappearing in the dark. I tried calling her by her name numerous times, but I was too afraid to open the door. I just covered myself in bed until the morning came. When the morning came, I talked to Mother Superior and told her of my decision to leave the monastery and look for another job. To my astonishment, I was not the only one who was hearing the harrowing chanting. I was told by the head nun that the parish priest of the old church had already made some plans by contacting the Vatican about the hauntings. That same Sunday, before I could depart the abbey, the relic of Mother Mariana of the Purification was displayed in the old church. Mother Mariana of the Purification was a well-known Carmelite nun for having an incorrupt body after passing away in Portugal with the Order of Sanctity. Moreover, the missing people's body were discovered in an abandoned house, but their heads were missing. The church opted for a news blackout regarding this matter. The hunting also stopped, but I still left the convent with my cat.
Now that you've reached the end of this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more before you sleep. Horror stories.